Hi, today I'm going to demonstrate how to export a points-based gradebook from the Angel LMS to Excel and then format and calculate the grades manually. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to be in Angel and we're going to be on the Management tab. I'm going to go over here to Course Management and select Gradebook. The next thing we're going to do after selecting Gradebook is select Export Grades. And I'm going to change this to a points-based gradebook, so I'm going to change the output format to points. Then select Export. The next thing that will happen is it will ask me if I want to export this and open it up with Excel. Now I would normally click OK and it would create a gradebook for me, but I already have one prepared and this is what it's going to look like here. And the next thing is I'm going to do a little formatting to this. I'm going to click here in the very corner and I'm going to expand all of the cells. I'm going to click in between the A and B columns, expand all of the cells to the width of the titles at the very top. Next, I'm going to add a totals column here at the bottom. And I'm also going to remove the instructor name, who is me. That record, take that record completely out. As well as I'm going to go up here to the D column, and I'm going to insert an additional column. We're going to call that %. Under source ID, we don't need two of them. There's two columns basically of student IDs. Instead, we're going to change this to letter grade. And we're going to empty this field out. And I'm going to go back here and I'm going to expand the columns. Now what we're going to end up with is we're going to have the name, the login name, which is the student ID, their letter grade, and then also the %. In order to calculate %, before that, the overall grade is showing up here. Now Angel calculated this for us, but I also like to be able to prove and show by manually calculating the overall grade that it's correct. So the first thing I do is I select that cell. You'll see that it's 938 for the student named Millie Adams. So I'm actually going to turn that into a calculation, use a formula. I'm going to use a sum calculation, and I'm going to select all these cells all the way to the final exam. And of course it comes back at 938. Now because I've done that for this one, I can drag that same sum calculation down over the rest of the overall group. So I'm going to drag that with the drag handle and it recalculates the grades. You'll notice as I go through here in the formula bar it shows all of the different rows being calculated with the sum. Now I also want to have totals, so I'm going to copy this one more cell down and calculate the totals. Now because this row is actually empty, it comes up with a 0. So I have to populate the rest of the grades, and I like to do that manually just so I'm aware, just so I'm aware of all the totals that, all the points that add up to the total. So I know that all of my assignments, just for ease, are worth 25 points. So I'm going to drag that over here. The first project is worth 50 points, and the next project is worth 100 points. This particular class has a midterm exam worth 100 points, and then the final exam is worth 200 points, which should equal up to a total of 1,000. Now I made everything worth 1,000 just to make sure it was easy to calculate and understand, and also see the percentage to make sure it's correct. Now when we're calculating percentage, as you know, the easiest way to calculate percentage is to take what the student earned overall and divide it by the number of possible points. So I'm going to say whatever is equal to, I'm going to turn the equal sign on. That turns on the math operation. It's looking, when you do that, it's expecting a formula. And then I'm going to select whatever is in D2, and I'm going to divide it by whatever is in the totals column here, which is 1,000. Now, so I can calculate this properly, I'm going to change that to an absolute value. I'm going to change the 1,000, whichever is in C which is in C or cell E22. I'm going to change that to absolute. Hint enter. Now what we see is that this student has a 0.938. I'm going to now drag this down, and it will populate the rest of the grades or percentages for the students. I'm going to do a little formatting though. First thing I'm going to do is turn this to a percentage. I'll go up to the numbers group, and I'm going to select percentage, and that gives me my overall percentage, but it's in whole numbers. So instead of whole numbers, I'd like to actually have true percentage. So I'm going to calculate that percentage out by increasing the decimal beyond the number beyond on the decimal point 2 places. Okay. Next thing we're also going to do is I like to also make the overall points. I also like to make it have two spots beyond the decimal point. Now, once that we have our percentage, we're going to there's a couple options we can have. Some teachers like to use a lookup table, which means we'd have an extra tab, and the lookup table would give us a letter grade based on percentage. Now, I like to actually do this with a logic statement or a simple formula that creates the letter grades based on the percentage rather than doing it manually. If you only had a few students, you could certainly just go through and look at the percentage and type in the letter grade. But if you had quite a few, it would be easier just to do a simple formula. Now what I like to do is use what is called an if statement or a nested if. It's a logic formula that allows you to allows the program itself to evaluate and assign a value based on the percentage. So I've already have that created, and I'll walk you through what it actually looks like. Of course, there's an if statement, and what this formula says if whatever's in D2, which is this 93.8%, is greater than 0.089, which is, of course, 89%, we're going to make it an A. Then I would separate that by a comma, place in another if statement, which is a nested if statement, and then say if whatever's in D2 is greater than 79%, make that a B. And I do that throughout the rest of the formula except for the very last part. And I basically say if none of those factors exist, then make the grade an F. You'll see I have a D, then I separate that with a comma and make that equal to an F. Now, of course, it calculated the first grade for Billy Adams as an A. The next grade, it should give us a B. So I'm going to copy this down, and look, it pulled up a B for me. So now that I know that it's calculating the grades correctly, I'm going to drag that down, and it's actually calculating my grades overall. Now, we're pretty much done, but I like to actually format the gradebook to look at and to make it a little bit more presentable. So I usually highlight the first row, make the titles bold, and I like to bold the very bottom row as well. And as well as doing that, I like to also add a little color to it so the totals stand out. I usually take the letter grade so that it isn't all hugged up to the right hand side. I like to actually center that, and that way it makes it very easy to see. So that's what basically it. You have all the students, their student ID, their actual letter grade calculated by a formula, as well as the percent calculated by a formula, and the overall grades are also calculated by a sum formula. This way, if anybody were to ask how you derived at a certain letter grade, it would be easy to actually go in and come up with that answer quickly. That's about it. Thank you very much.